3 years, Christopher Eccleston has been reprising the role of the Ninth Doctor for Big Finish Productions, and now we're coming to the end of his third and supposedly final season, or at least in terms of these Big Finish Ninth Doctor Adventure box sets in their current form. This is the Ninth Doctor Adventures Starcross, which reunites the Doctor with Professor River Song, played by Alex Kingston. As we all know from the TV show, the Doctor did not properly become aware of River Song as a character until his 10th incarnation in the Series 4 story Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. So how on earth does a box set like this exist without breaking the canon wide open? But this is what we're here to find out. And also, how does a character like the Ninth Doctor, who is so damaged and so adverse to traditional romances, respond to a character like River Song? Well, we go to this trilogy of stories. We've got Swipe Right by John Dorney, we've got Face of the Apocalypse by Lizzie Hopley, and Archipelago by Tim Foley. These are some Big Finish heavy hitters for what looks set to be Christopher Eccleston's swan song as the Ninth Doctor, at least, like I said, in this box set's current form. Now, a lot is riding on this box set, for me at least, because while there have been some real standout box sets over the past 3 years, the last couple of them I do think has been like, they do feel like they're kind of flagging, particularly the last one, which I covered a couple of months back, Buried Threats. I was just not really a fan of that box set at all, unfortunately. And when it comes to box sets like Travelling Hope and Pioneers, they're decent box sets overall, but I do think that the highs of the range, I think that it had peaked relatively early. I thought that, and then I listened to Starcross, because this is a terrific box set and overall one of my favourites of 2024 so far. Let's start with Swipe Right by John Dorney. So this story takes place on the planet of Krell, where basically an artificial intelligence is running the planet, where the citizens of the planet have to operate essentially a mandated Tinder equivalent in their day-to-day lives, where they have a certain amount of swipe lefts that they're able to do, where they reject a prospective match. And they're encouraged to swipe right, and if they go on too many dates that don't wind up in an actual match, an actual relationship, they're basically killed off. It's like some weird twisted Black Mirror where an artificial intelligence is forcing people to become a couple even if they're not compatible because they just don't want to be killed. It's in this context where we find characters such as Beth, played by Francesca Mills, and Julian, played by Tom Neenan, who are meant to be paired up together, but through a weird sequence of events, the Ninth Doctor and River Song end up pairing with them accidentally. Hi Theo, did you know that Christopher Eccleston has been playing the Ninth Doctor again? You knew that, didn't you? Because you're a clever little kiddie. For the first half of Swipe Right, we've got this two-pronged narrative where the Ninth Doctor teams up with Beth and River teams up with Julian. Their goal, to save these people in the short term, is to pair up with each other so the matchmaker won't kill them, won't find them with their robotic soldiers, but they do hit a bit of a snag. Here is a clip from Swipe Right.
But don't get any ideas. This is purely a business arrangement. And I don't mean getting down to business. We'll only be a couple on paper, I'm afraid. Like I told you, I'm already taken. What? I said, in the restaurant. I'm married to the most wonderful person.
I'd forgotten. Oh no.
Welcome to the matchmaker system.
There we go. I'm connected. Now, if I can just find you...
But it won't work. If you've already got someone, the system will know.
It will? How?
No matching required. Subject is already matched.
Well, that's impossible.
You know him? That's your husband?
Yes. And not really the ideal one. I think we might be in trouble.
And I'm in. Just need to find you. Not her. Swipe left.
No matching required. Subject is already matched.
No. Didn't you hear me? Swipe left.
Subject is already matched.
You're already taken.
I certainly am not.
Or the system thinks you are.
Well, the system's wrong. We already knew it was broken. This is just another example. Oh, there's got to be some kind of override.
Who is she?
Beats me.
She's beautiful.
If you like that kind of thing. And I don't. God, it's not letting me do anything. She's the only one it's letting me have.
River Song.
Never heard of her.
It says she's your wife.
Ha! My what?
Well, bottom of the image, small print. You say you don't know her?
I don't. And I'm pretty certain I'd remember if I'd married her. Well, 95% certain, maybe 90. Oh, I don't know. I've had a long life. If she's on the system, does that mean she's on this planet?
I guess so.
Then I'm going to find her. Trace her last activity. Something's wrong here, and she's bang in the center of it.
I know that was a bit of a longer clip than I normally play for these reviews, but I did really want to get that line in, not really the ideal one, which Shimat in the chat has pointed out, because River Song knows about all of the Doctor's incarnations, and this is the first time that she's encountering the 9th incarnation, and she knows that she's going to have her hands full with him because he is a bit of a standoffish incarnation, especially when he doesn't have a regular companion like these 9th Doctor Big Finish box sets. They have him travelling alone, so he's maybe a bit more standoffish, and also he's just very anti the idea of love and relationships right now after what he's been through in the Time War, and this box set really does explore all of the facets of that relationship. We'll delve into it later, but it does dive into a perfect 3-act structure when it comes to a relationship in general. And Theo, what are you doing? Like I said, the first half of the story has got this two-pronged narrative approach, and it's a really good way for the audience to get caught up to speed on this fictional world and this artificial intelligence, which is taking the form of the quote matchmaker, which is forcing these people together. And while I won't give the spoilers as to what the actual end game is, what form the matchmaker turns out to be, I really appreciated as we've known with the 9th Doctor box sets for Big Finish, the very anti-capitalistic mindset. This is of course a 9th Doctor adventure, very socially conscious, very pro-working class, but also quite big on the diversity. You've got Beth, played by Francesca Mills here, and this is the first time, in my recollection at least, that a Doctor Who piece of media has explicitly named and pinpointed a character as asexual, which is a really interesting approach to take for what is meant to be a romantic themed box set. But of course, you've got to be covering all of these elements of the romantic experience, and with Beth, you do. Somebody who is asexual, who does not fit into this matchmaker quote paradise because she doesn't really enjoy the physical intimacy part of it. I think it's really interesting to have that manifest in this box set. It makes sense that if you're going to be covering all of these aspects of a relationship, then you would maybe want to cover asexuality. You cover homosexuality and other aspects like that in other stories in this box set, so it's great to have asexual representation in this, and also aromantic, because the 9th Doctor has no idea what he's doing romantically. But I found John Dorney's Swipe Right to be a really cool piece of social commentary, a little bit of Black Mirror, but still with a fun Doctor Who edge. I think that Eccleston and Kingston have great chemistry with each other, and it's great to see Eccleston be so standoffish in this context, because he learns about River Song, not through meeting River Song, but by being told by the matchmaker database that you're already matched, this is your wife. So he's immediately on the defensive, this isn't right. I'm a time traveler, but there's no way that this can be true, especially not for this incarnation. I don't know what other incarnations in the future have promised you, but they're stupid and dumb, whatever, that's not me. And over the course of this story and the box set generally, River starts to bring his defenses down, which culminates in a really, really satisfying sequence of events in the final story, but we'll get to that shortly. But Swipe Right is a really fun piece of sci-fi. It's a great bit of romantic comedy, but the comedy really comes into its own in the second story, Face of the Apocalypse by Lizzie Hopley. So the TARDIS picks up a signal, which takes the form of a strange algorithm, which is the face of River Song, which is being beamed through this bank's security system, where all of these historical artifacts and historical people throughout history, including but not limited to the Mona Lisa, are being hijacked by River Song. The Mona Lisa is now in the Louvre, but with Alex Kingston's face, which is a really funny gag in this episode. The Doctor thinks that River Song has something to do with it, that there's some nefarious motivation behind what she's scheming, but there is another voice, another presence that is trying to track down River Song. Let's play a clip from Face of the Apocalypse.
Most reasonable people bank online.
You? What are you?
No, what are you doing here? What are you ever doing anywhere?
Arranging an overdraft. Oh, you look terribly angry.
Please don't tell me you're robbing a bank.
I'm insulted at that insinuation.
Well, your criminal profile's hard to ignore.
Oh, been looking me up? I'm flattered.
I have not been.
For your information, I'm not robbing anything. Sometimes I need to infiltrate an IT system here or there to remove my name from the records.
So this is a cover-up operation. Very discreet.
It's a big system. So, let me wipe my ID from the database and we can both be on our way.
River, this is the ultimate offshore bank, and every one of their special clients now knows your face. You'll be on every wanted list going.
My face?
The TARDIS detected it as an algorithm. Your face just got me access to every account in the most highly protected financial depository ever.
Yes, I was worried about that. Where did the voice go?
What voice? There are a million voices out there. Most of them want you arrested.
I've already been arrested by the trans-temporal security system, and my face got me out. What is it about my face?
You tell me.
Someone was talking to me specifically. It wasn't the main computer, it was...
Hang on. You didn't start this?
Oh, I love that you assume I did.
Well, this can't be a system error. Someone's setting you up. You got any enemies?
A bit, yeah.
I mean specific, recent.
Oh, yeah.
We need one of these motherboards.
Which one?
The nearest.
Now who's the thief?
Just let's get you in the TARDIS.
I have got you, River Song. I have got you. And you have got me.
So this story kind of serves as a pseudo-sequel to Swipe Right, but to go any further would be spoilers. But that whole banking sci-fi setup with the voice and everything, that is essentially the first act of the story. The second and third act is this really fun buddy, like, couples counselling story, where the Ninth Doctor and River Song essentially have to act as therapists for the universe's original couple, an Adam and Eve equivalent from an alien planet, played by Paul Reynolds and Nadia Albina, the latter of whom you'll probably remember from Doctor Who The Halloween Apocalypse, or from Doctor Who Flux generally, who played Diana, who was Dan the Plasterer's love interest during that season. They're called Spore and Keytree, and Spore is essentially meant to be this, like, great intergalactic hero who the Doctor has looked up to throughout his incarnations and his lives. And there's this great legend where this spaceship crash lands near Spore and Keytree's home, and the couple's kindness and generosity and their tales of their adventures as a couple inspires a whole new religion, and this whole new culture in the galaxy starts to unfold from that. But the Ninth Doctor and River land next to Spore and Keytree's home, and they're a bickering couple, and they have to try and make amends, and they have to try and fix this couple's dynamic. It's so fun. It's genuinely so witty, so well performed. I particularly liked Paul Reynolds as Spore. I guess, like, the strange little interjections and the strange, like, idiosyncrasies of his character. He's one of, like, the standout performances of this box set. I loved him throughout. Some of the sci-fi stuff I do think kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like, it seems like the weird high security intergalactic bank from the first act, it kind of feels like that might be padding out the runtime and maybe, like I said earlier, acting as a pseudo sequel to Swipe Right and those remnants there. But the actual heart of the story is the computer glitch, which manifests into this new couples counselling dynamic between the Ninth Doctor and River. It's really fun, really engaging, and like I said, I think that Eccleston and Kingston have a great dynamic throughout of it. You heard from that clip as well, the idea that these two just do not really get along and the Ninth Doctor is so standoffish. But it all comes to a head in the final story in this trilogy and the finale of the Ninth Doctor Adventures, Archipelago, by Tim Foley, where River lures the Doctor to the planet Fortuna, which is being besieged by these time winds, this time storm, and the Doctor is roped into this rescue mission. One of the characters here is Captain Thaddeus Gray, played by Trevor Cooper. You'll recognise him on the cover here. And Thaddeus is trying to find his husband, who has been lost in the time winds. They've got a small boat. They're going to go out on this voyage to try and rescue this guy's husband. And the Doctor is grounded by the TARDIS. He's not able to escape because of these time winds. So while River is wanting to try and rescue this guy's husband, the Doctor just wants to get out of there, stop the time winds, try and quell their rage, and get the TARDIS away and get as far away from River Song as possible, because he just does not like the idea of this woman who knows everything about him, who has this weird lopsided dynamic. But let's play a clip from Archipelago.
Doctor! It's a little cramped down here. Ow!
Mind your head.
We'll take apart this Gladstone bag and nail the leather to the cabin door.
Sorry?
Dimensionally transcendental. Should soak into the wood. Give us a few extra rooms at least.
But you ruined the bag. A gift from John and Gillian.
How do you... No, don't want to know. Needs must. Can't squeeze 3 of us down here for months.
Does this mean you are coming? Oh, thank you, thank you.
Hang on. What do you mean, months?
I wondered if you knew what you were getting yourself into.
It's just as Harvey said.
I did some readings in the TARDIS. Those time storms are doing some seriously weird stuff. It's gonna feel like we're traveling through treacle.
So it'll take a little longer. We can manage.
That's not all. The way that temporal bubble's formed around those islands, we're gonna be traveling through temporary time.
Are you sure?
Temporary time.
Oh, it's an incredibly rare occurrence. I've never experienced it myself.
When we cross a certain threshold, about half a click that away, everything that happens in that bubble, the whole journey, there and back, it'll be like it never happened. Big old ugly reset.
I don't follow.
You could grow yourself a beard right down to your tippy toes, but when you're back out of that bubble, you won't even have stubble. Anything can happen, but then it'll unhappen.
That kind of time shifting is dangerously unstable. We might get trapped in its temporality, lose any kind of permanence. We could start aging at different rates, or freeze in a single moment.
Which is why I brought this. And trust me, I didn't bring it lightly. Excuse the pun.
The TARDIS lamp!
To light the way, as long as it's glowing, it'll keep the skimmer's dimensions steady. Plus, we'll be tied to the right reality, tethered to the TARDIS back here.
I don't understand any of this, but I welcome it all. And I welcome you too. Excellent, excellent. We must ready for departure.
I suppose we're good for fuel.
Don't need any. The skimmer rides the tides of gas.
You both still want to do this then? After everything I've just said?
Of course. Harvey needs me. And I'm honored you've chosen to help him.
So this is written by Tim Foley, who I think over the past year has had some weird seafaring adventurers like itch that he really wants to scratch. Obviously Archipelago is about these 3 people going through the time winds to try and find a lost husband. However, you also had The Long Despair, which is from the War Master Solitary Confinement set, where you had the War Master, played by Derek Jacobi, going on a seafaring adventure as well. You've got his Morbius trilogy, which essentially acts as a the Captain's Log Dracula adaptation, where the Time Lords, after the battle with Morbius in the Dark Times, are going on a voyage through the time vortex. Tim Foley clearly has nauticalness on his mind right now. If you're a Big Finish completionist, you'll probably spot all of that, but if you're a casual Big Finish listener, I just thought it was a really just funny connection that Tim Foley has been basically using the same premise for a story 3 times over the past year, but still feeling so distinctly different in their execution. So Archipelago is essentially an epic. It's an odyssey where the Doctor, where River Song and Thaddeus are spending weeks and months and ultimately years on this planet, on this ship, trying to get through the time winds as their perceptions of reality are altered, their perceptions of time aren't linear or consistent, and they're not going at the same speed at the same rate, which is, kind of similar to River Song's relationship with the Doctor. This ship is essentially just a manifestation of the Doctor and River Song's relationship, and there's a wonderful dramatic moment in this story where I'll only say what the premise of the scene is, but I won't dive deeper because, spoilers. But the 9th Doctor reads River Song's diary. And the fallout from that is some of the most effective drama that I've heard from Big Finish so far this year. Of course, the performances from Eccleston and Kingston are like top tier. They're really brilliant together, especially considering that this story is effectively a 3-hander. But the way the Doctor reacts to this uneven dynamic between the Doctor and River, and how that hurts him, that terrifies him, and the idea that he kind of sees it as not an abusive relationship, but the idea that at any one time, whether it's the Doctor or it's going to be River, is going to know more than their supposed life partner. That this is an unequal balance. This is not an equal dynamic, and it's not ultimately a healthy relationship. It's not a healthy dynamic on paper. And the fact that that's in his future scares him, and that, that a future incarnation would agree to a dynamic like that. And I think that he kind of is a bit afraid that he is capable of that, and that somebody would join him along for that journey. But this whole box set overall, with Swipe Right, Face of the Apocalypse, and Archipelago, it's essentially depicting the beginning, the middle, and the end of a relationship. Swipe Right is about, meeting somebody on a dating app. Face of the Apocalypse is about couples counseling. And Archipelago is about a relationship either ultimately breaking down or reaching its final days in happiness. And whichever ending that the story gets is still ultimately an ending for the Ninth Doctor and River Song. People in the chat have been asking, does this box set break the timeline? Does this break the characters? Because, the 10th Doctor is the first one to properly recognise River, but in this box set, the Ninth Doctor is fully aware of, who River is, and that this is his wife, or supposed wife from the future, or an alternative timeline, or whatever. But with Archipelago, they're going through the time winds. I'm sure you can, do some justification to show that the timeline is fully restored by the end of the story. But the conceit of a previous incarnation knowing the full dynamic of the Doctor and River relationship, and it still fitting within the canon perfectly, slotting in there, but it's using that jumping off point that should otherwise break the canon to explore the characters deeper, is wonderful. I love the final act of Archipelago in particular. I think that the way that Eccleston and Kingston play off each other, and the changes vocally to their performance as they ultimately grow old on this time ship together. It's really wonderful. I do think that Archipelago in this Starcross box set is one of, if not the best, Doctor and River Song story. Now, in terms of best River Song story, now Big Finish has done an incredible job over the past few years with their Alex Kingston Diary of River Song stories, like Harvest of the Crotons, A Friend of the Family, Two Rivers and a Firewall, etc. There's some terrific stories and some terrific box sets here. But in terms of the actual Doctor and River Song storyline, this is immediately ranks up there as one of the best, along with Forest of the Dead and Silence, immediately up there with Forest of the Dead and Silence at the Library, and some of Stephen Moffat's best work with the character. Archipelago is an incredible finale to the Ninth Doctor range and this box set as well. It's just brilliant. It's so wonderfully moving. I was close to tears throughout it. And the performances are amazing. It's great to see in the behind the scenes a documentary afterwards that Eccleston loved the script as well and considers it to be one of his favourites that he's done over the past 3 seasons. Yeah, Starcross is the real deal, genuine top tier Ninth Doctor Big Finish. So in terms of the best Ninth Doctor Big Finish box sets, we've got Starcrossed, we've got Back to Earth, we've got Old Friends, Respond to All Calls off the top of my head. Those are the best ones. Starcrossed might be top 3, instantly. One of the best. And Archipelago is a big, reason behind that. But all 3 of these box sets are great. I think that Face of the Apocalypse has, a strange identity problem. The first act and the last 2 acts are so, strangely connected. But I still loved it overall. And Swipe Right is a lot of fun. It's just terrific. It's just a terrific box set and will very, very likely be in my top 10 list when all is said and done by the end of 2024. Really, really amazing stuff. Yeah, Starcrossed is an immediate must listen, immediate must purchase in my opinion. You should be listening to this.